We're going to be having some fun today. I'm here today, Deborah Cosdras from the University of South Florida Stavros Center, and I'm here with Dr. Marilyn Barger from the Florida, or I'm sorry, from FLATE, the Florida Advanced Technological Education Center, which is also now part of Florida Makes Network. And this is a series of 2 sessions that are being sponsored by the Coca-Cola Foundation. And they're part of Florida Manufacturing Month. So we should have some fun today. Those of you who have joined this webinar, it was advertised that the first 20 people who signed up and attend both sessions will be eligible for a $50 stipend. So what we will be doing is later on in the session, we will have a Jennifer Fitzsimmons is with us tonight, and she has taken care of the order of people signing up. So she will also take care of all of the details, and we'll tell you about things at the end. And we will have some forms for you to fill in so that we will be able to send you all of the information you need if you happen to be one of those lucky first 20 who signed up and attended both sessions. So welcome tonight. I'm sure some of you know the show How It's Made. It's actually one of my favorite shows to watch. I think it's fascinating, and I know Dr. Puglisi, our director, he also loves the show. And when we were talking about the show, I thought, well, wouldn't it be interesting to have almost like a How It's Made 2.0? So How It's Made 2.0 is how it's made and how it can be made better. So that's what we're going to be talking about today. So we're just going to have a little bit of information and introductions. This is our agenda. Talking a little bit about Manufacturing Month and skills and careers that are essential. We'll look at how it's made, and I'll share some resources with you. And then we'll look at a critical questioning model and design thinking that will help us lead some of the questions toward our interview with our special guests today from Monin Industries. And at 5:40, we'll introduce our special guests from Industries, and then they will share some very exciting, interesting things that are happening in what they're doing. And then we'll have questions at the end. So those of you who have been with us before know Marilyn Barger. She's been working with us for quite a few years and is part of our advocacy board, and now is with FLATE, who's collaborated with with Florida Makes, which is an organization that encompasses manufacturing in Florida. And a lot of people don't know how much wonderful, interesting manufacturing goes on in Florida, but she's going to tell you a little bit about it. So Marilyn, are you ready to talk a little bit about FLATE and what's going on?
Yes, I am. Thanks, Deborah, and thanks everyone for joining us today or this evening. And happy Manufacturing Month to all of you. This is a big occasion for us. We're always excited for October because Manufacturing Month and events to celebrate manufacturing are typically focused directly at students and educators to make them more aware of the great careers and opportunities that we have in the manufacturing industry sector. So not some high-level presentations about lots of numbers and data, but just trying to share all the great things about our industry with students and educators, so the educators can share it with their own students. So we have a couple of handouts that we use to share this news or this information with educators and students, and I believe that Deborah has put them in the resource packet that you'll have, or the link you'll get at the end, but we cut and pasted some of those here to talk about a little bit today. So just in a nutshell, manufacturing is just changing some raw materials or some starting materials and processing them and making a product that either we can use or we want, or that makes our life better. So some examples you'll see in that list: the foods we eat, the things we wear, the things we like to listen to, all of those items have to be manufactured. The desk you're sitting at, if you're sitting at a desk, the front door to your home or to your office, all of those things have to be manufactured. And there's lots and lots of things that are made right here in Florida. Lots of things are made in parts, and just you might just be making a component for something, but certainly there's a lot of great things that are made here. So tonight we're going to hear about one and another one next week in our greater Tampa Bay area. So Deborah's added some economic terms here. So those of you who are in those fields will recognize these things. We talk about goods and services, wants and needs, producers and consumers, jobs and tools, natural capital, human resources, and entrepreneurial thinking. So this is all what manufacturing is about, all of these things, making the goods and services, helping people with what they need and what they want, and certainly producers, jobs, tools, all of these things are part of manufacturing and important drivers in the industry. Next. So moving on, as part of another part of this handout that you can download and share with your students is just some of those numbers about manufacturing, just a couple. Manufacturing in Florida. It contributes $51.3 billion to Florida's economy, employs 4.2% of the workforce, and the average wage of that sector, of our sector, is $61,735 annually. So that's above the average annual wage in our state, and many states for that matter. There's over almost 400,000 people working and 20,000 employers that are manufacturers in Florida. Some of them are very small, some of them are very big. So they all kinds of sizes and shapes. Next. So along those lines, there's also a lot of really great careers, and at the top of this part of this graphic, you'll see kind of a flow chart, but it's just an arc here, how things get made. And if you've attended Stavros Center workshops before, some of this will look familiar, but it's maybe in a slightly different words and slightly different format. So, you know, somebody has to have an idea. We have to get a design and figure out how to make it, and then make it and test it and market it and distribute it. So that's careers in all of those areas. You might see engineers in the innovate and design area. You'll see technicians and production workers in the fabrication and test area. And then you'll see some other folks in marketing and distribution. And so we'll put all of those together, and you could work in any sector. You know, we have to make everything. So if there's something particular that someone is interested in, you could find a job in manufacturing, making that particular item. That's why we say do what you love. You can get a job making bicycles if you like to do that. You can get a job, you know, making orange juice if you like to drink orange juice and think that's a really cool thing. So lots of opportunities, jobs in manufacturing for any sector. Next. And just to put some words around those jobs or job titles you might see and share with students. I won't read through all of these. I'll let you take a look at it when you look at the slide deck. But you know, working in production and with materials, with robotics and automation, design. We saw some of these words in the previous slide. Now simulations coming to play a big part. Etc. So lots of different interests can be satisfied in manufacturing. And so that's all in one nice handout, front and back, 2 pages. If you want to share those with your students, that would be a great opportunity, a great way to talk through what manufacturing is about.
And I have that available in the resources at the end, when we'll give you a link to that. So that'll be great. So what we did too is we put I put 2 links for you. There's a connection to the oops, sorry, I went ahead. There's a connection to the YouTube channel, the YouTube How It's Made on Science Channel, and also the YouTube channel on the Science Channel, and also the YouTube on YouTube to their channel to show you where you could find all of these how it's made videos. They have the short little excerpts that are cut from many of their past episodes. And so it could be a lot of fun to find something that might resonate with some of your students. So think about this, a recycled skateboard guitar. Wow, that sounds interesting. But we're going to go to something more simple, because what we want to do today is we're talking about how it's made and how it can be made better. And I'm going to start with a very classic economics text, which is called iPencil. And I have a link to the iPencil original words so that you could use it, by Leonard E. Reed. And it shares, it's a family tree as told to Leonard by a pencil. And it's a very classic economics text, but we're going to look at when we watch this video, we're going to look at the resources that are used in production, but also where problems can arise, because this is a classic text from many years ago. And we found that, obviously in the past 20, 30, 40 years, we have found many, many problems that arise that we've been fixing along the way. And it's not as simple as this complicated process looks in the video. So I want you to think about, though, this is a way of getting your students to think about the land, labor, capital, and entrepreneurial skills that are used in production of a pencil.
This is the world we live in. If we weren't surrounded by it every day, if we didn't take it for granted, we'd be dumbstruck by its very intricacy and brilliance. This is an ordinary, familiar wooden pencil.
Now, as he talks during the session, if you see anything that is a resource, you can put it in the chat box. The chat box is the little box that has it looks like a little speech bubble with the little lines in it. You could open that up and put some of your ideas in there.
You might think a pencil is simple. Chances are you've been using one since before you could even read or write. But just because it's familiar doesn't mean it's simple. In fact, it's complicated, elaborate, beautiful, elegant. Its very existence is too improbable for any one person to truly comprehend. These are the basic materials that go into a pencil: graphite, cedar, metal, and rubber. But if you had all the elements of a pencil right in front of you, could you make a pencil? It's not as easy as you might think. In fact, no single person on the face of the earth could do it without the help of countless others. And this is the key to understanding the world. A pencil, just like you and me, is the end result of a vast and intricate family tree, a symphony of human activity that spans the globe. Through their work and knowledge, a vast number of people have had a hand in making this simple pencil. Unlike your family tree, this one begins with an actual tree. The most immediate ancestor of the pencil is a cedar tree in the Pacific Northwest. But the loggers who harvest the timber are also its ancestors. And these men don't work alone. They, in turn, are assisted by people and industries that produce the saws, rope, and countless other tools that they use. These are also the ancestors of the pencil. As is the waitress at a nearby diner who sells the loggers' lunch, to say nothing of the thousands of people involved in producing that simple midday meal. Across time and space, the web grows. Consider the roads, trucks, ships, systems, design, build, and maintain them. All of them are necessary to bring the lumber from the mills and the slag factories to process them. All of them are also the ancestors of the pencil. And even with the work of all these people, So far, all we have is a stained wooden slat, the naked half of a wooden body of a pencil. But its family tree is larger and more extensive. The graphite is mined in China and Sri Lanka. At the pencil factory, it's mixed with clay and heat and other materials before it's extruded, dried, and baked in a kiln. People from different continents, different cultures, cooperate to bring these materials together with waxes and kilns and equipment from across the world. These too are the ancestors of the pencil. And the same is true of the eraser. With ingredients from around the world, it's the end result of a similarly complex and exotic branch of the family tree. As is the ferrule, the metal band made from material that is mined, refined, and shipped from all over the world. Each part of the pencil is the result of the collaboration and cooperation of millions of people. Together, they form a process that is constantly changing and adapting. A change in the availability or cost of material from one place might make another source more desirable, and the process changes and adapts fluidly. And there is a fact that's still more astounding. The absence of a mastermind, of anyone dictating these countless actions which bring a pencil into being. Each member of this family tree supplies only a small amount of the necessary know-how needed to make a pencil. They do so voluntarily, not because they necessarily want pencils or like pencils, but because by working to create them, they exchange their labor and skills for the wages that let them buy what they want and need. What you're seeing is the market at work, the spontaneous configuration of creative human energies, of millions of people with their various skills and talents organizing voluntarily in response to human necessity and desire, as if led by an invisible hand to promote an end which was no part of the intention. Every second we're alive, we benefit from the products of voluntary, spontaneous cooperation. This is the modern world. It's miraculous, it's intricate, and it gets better every day, so long as people are free to interact with each other. If we can leave the creative energies of humankind uninhibited, there's no limit to what we can accomplish.
So what do you think? Did we get any resources in there, Marilyn?
Actually, Deborah, I can't see the chat. It says it's having trouble loading.
Oh, okay.
No,
Let me
this is
just-
listed.
Maybe Jennifer, is she able to see anything?
Yes, there's nothing in the chat about resources.
Okay. So did anyone see any of those resources that as we were watching the film, or were you too engaged? I know every time I see this, I really enjoy watching it. This is how everything should come together, but it doesn't always come together as intricately as this, because there are problems along the way. Especially during COVID, many manufacturers have found problems with supply chains getting all of their resources to them.
Some are coming in now, Deborah. They say tree,
Oh, there we go. Trees.
loggers, graphite, the metal band, rubber.
Mhm.
They switch resources when needed.
Thanks for participating. And you don't really think about what goes into a pencil, but like they said in the film, like no one person could just make the pencil, because you imagine traveling around the world to get all of those resources to be able to create that pencil. It's a simple tool that we use every day, but it is a very complicated process, like all manufacturing is. So what we also provided you with are some resources that you could use with your students in the classroom. There is an Econ EdLink lesson that is all about the pencil and where did the pencil come from. So there are some ideas on how you can, they're free lessons, and you can look at how a pencil is made, and also other items, how other items are made. and have some fun with that. So there's a lesson plan there for you. There's also a Washington Post article we found. Did you ever wonder about the lead in pencils? And I know we say there is lead in pencils, but if you noticed, it said graphite, and graphite's been used for quite a long time because, oops, they've never really been made of lead. Who knew that? Who knew that? So there's the history behind the chemistry in a pencil. So you can read that later and see all kinds of things about what are some other cool facts about pencils. Who knew pencils were so interesting? And of course, that graphite is a form of carbon, and that lead pencils were never made of lead, which is fascinating.
Definitely.
And so also there's I'll just play a little bit of this video, because then if you want to see how it's made in a factory, especially if you're a fan of the show, and if you're not a fan of the show, you may be, as we're going on here. I'll watch
the lead inside a pencil isn't actually lead. It's mostly graphite, which was discovered in England in the mid-1500s, giving birth to the pencil industry. In 1795, a French chemist invented a new type of pencil lead made of graphite powder and clay fired in an oven, making it possible to produce leads with different hardness. For the pencil's body, you need a type of wood that's soft enough to sharpen, yet strong enough not to bend under the writer's hand pressure. This German pencil...
So we have a lot of innovation, we have a lot of entrepreneurial thinking, and we also have a lot of science coming in here, because now we're talking about materials and hardness and softness, and how different materials, chemistry, things coming together. So there's a lot of ways in which you can take different content areas and mix them and use these kinds of videos.
The factory uses cedar from California. The wood is 5 millimeters thick and arrives pre-cut in slats of 18 by 7 centimeters.
And some mathematics, because now we talked about how large they are, how the kids could estimate how many pencils you could get out of the amount of wood they have. So we could bring in some mathematics.
One by one, the slats pass under a giant cutting wheel. It carves grooves that will become the channel down the middle that holds the lead. The next machine fills the grooves with glue, a special formulation that's slightly elastic. This cushions the lead so that it's less likely to break inside the channel. Every second slat moves on to another conveyor belt. The ones that stay on this line head toward the machine that lays in the lead. The lead is made of a graphite and clay mixture, baked in an oven at more than 800 degrees Celsius. The lead-laying machine's wheel loads itself with leads. Their spacing matches the grooves in the slats. It's the same process for colored pencils, only the leads are made of wax, clay, and pigments, with no baking required. Now for the slats that move to that other conveyor belt. An automated arm flips each one over, slides it across a glue applicator, then drops it onto a leaded slat on the other conveyor belt. All the steps to this point have culminated in what is effectively a lead sandwich. Now a plunger squeezes those sandwiches together with a full ton of pressure. It compresses them for an hour while the glue dries. After that, it's just a matter of slicing the sandwiches into pencils. This shaping machine makes the hexagonal profile in 2 steps. First, its upper cutter forms 3 sides on top, then its lower cutter shapes 3 sides on the bottom. As soon as the bottom side is cut, the pencils separate. A worker pulls a sample pencil from each batch coming off the line and manually sharpens it to spot check lead quality. Then he applies force to the tip until it breaks. For a pencil to pass this strength test, it has to withstand at least 2 kilograms of force. Now it's time to dress that bare wood. One at a time, the pencils shoot through a device called a lacquering head. It coats the wood in paint, yellow in this case. It takes 4 coats of paint to completely hide the wood grain. A 5th lacquering head paints a black stripe, this company's trademark. Then a 6th head seals the paint job with a transparent lacquer. From the paint line, the pencils make their way to a stamping machine. At an astounding rate of 500 pencils a minute, the machine heat transfers foil lettering from a plastic film to the painted wood. Last stop, the rubber tip assembly machine. First, it squeezes the top of the pencil to slide on an aluminum ferrule. Then it inserts a rubber eraser into the ferrule's other end and squeezes that tight. European-style pencils have a painted cap instead, the color indicating how hard the lead is. After a coat of transparent sealer, the pencils take a series of dips in the first color, then once that dries, in the second color. The final coat is a high-gloss lacquer. The pencils are finally ready to roll across a grinding drum for sharpening. By the time they roll off, they're pointed perfection.
And so pointed perfection. So there you go. What a complicated process for such a simple item that we take for granted every day. I think it'll, hopefully it'll interest your students. I could think of some more connections you can make. It's great for English language arts, where you could have them create a timeline of what's going on. You can also, there was also a lot more mathematics in there and different processes, different machines. The students could discuss what kind of machines are made. And also there was a lack of a lot of people in there. So it looks like a lot of the process is automated. So there could be a lot of discussions that come in with that. As we're going along, if there are any questions you have, you can enter those right into the chat. So all of those activities are going to be available for you after the session in a link we have. So what we're going to do now is, this page looks very complicated, but I just wanted to put this page of questions up here because this is a critical questioning model, and I put a link to it because this is the critical questioning model that Marilyn and I decided we wanted to use when we're looking at how it's made and how it can be made, but how it's being made better and how it's made better in the future. There are three steps to the critical questioning model. There are descriptive questions, which are those just right there questions, the what, when, who, and where. And this is a level of questioning that is recommended through research. And then after those questions are answered, we move into the how and the why questions, which are analysis, and also how questions, which then move also how borders analysis and evaluation. And then we can ask all kinds of questions like, what if? So what? And what's next? And this is a critical questioning model that can be used in so many ways in your classroom, but we're going to be using it today with some questions we're going to ask as we have our guests here today. So I put some questions here that are specifically can be used for looking at the process in manufacturing. So I'll just go quickly through those. And as when we introduce our special guests from Monin, then they'll be able to answer some of the questions as we go on, and you might think of some questions you might want to ask them. So this is all the, who, what, when, and where, which they have a really good video we'll share with you to use. And then we have some analysis questions of how they produce, source, select, and all of those interesting, why they use particular things, resources, and processes. So thinking about some of those how and why questions, you might write down some questions yourself as we introduce them and what they're doing. Then also thinking of some of those, so what next, what now, and what if. those are going to be those questions that bring in design thinking, because Monin is also, the people from Monin are also going to talk about some very interesting things that they've been doing lately that are very innovative and, you know, solving problems and creating new and interesting products. And then they'll also talk to you about, you know, some things that could be changed in the future, and you might have some great ideas for them, or new products, and particularly how they look at customization. This is a very interesting company, and I know you're going to enjoy it. So using critical questions helps your students work through a design thinking process, because anytime we're talking about how something is made, we define what it is, and then we can diverge our thinking to think what if, because we don't want to always make things the same way, especially if they're causing a problem, or if markets are changing and maybe customers are changing. And then once we have a what if, we work together and try to find which one of those new and innovative ideas is a wow. And then we test it, they test it in the market to see what works. So those are 4 questions you can always use with your students, especially if they know a business that makes something, the shoes they wear, the clothes they wear, the food they eat, and anything that they taste that is delightful, because we're going to be talking about delightful tastes today. And so that's a way that we could look at, that's a way you could have your students analyze, use critical questions to think through design thinking process about things that they are eating, wearing, and doing every day. So right now, this is a link to the website for Monin. And right now, Marilyn, can you please introduce your wonderful manufacturing guests?
Sure, I'd be happy to, if I'm still online here. Yes. So I'd like to introduce you to Mike Brewster. Mike, you want to wave so they can see who you are? And Megan Mears, she's down a little farther on my screen, from Monin, and they're going to tell you about their awesome facility in Clearwater. And I guess there's some other facilities elsewhere in the country, but you know, we'll just stick with the Florida one for now.
And I noticed Jennifer sent me a text for Megan. I don't know, Megan, if you can try to unmute yourself. And if you can't unmute yourself, you might want to go out of Teams and come back in while Mike's talking. So you could just, oh.
Yeah, I can talk.
Oh, good. That's wonderful. Because Jennifer tried to unmute you and she couldn't. So there we go. That's perfect. Okay. And
oh,
go ahead.
Are you done? Was just one more thing. Monin has been great about welcoming students into their facility during manufacturing month for a number of years. And, you know, last year and this year, that's not happening so much anymore right now because of the pandemic. But we're excited to bring them to you all virtually so you can share this great local company and their facility with your students.
Okay, do you want to talk a little bit about the company from the website, or should we go right to the video?
Let me take a couple minutes first. I guess the video would be good. So, but I'll take a couple minutes first if that's okay. First of all, my name is Mike Brewster. I'm the Chief Production Officer for Monin. I am honored to be here. I really appreciate all of you making time. I got the thing about the pencil. I definitely look at this a whole different way now. So, so I'm responsible for manufacturing at Monin Americas. And I would say that to summarize my job with Monin, it's really in many ways a dream job. I get to work with products that are a lot of fun that you'll see as we take this time with you over the next few minutes that you probably experienced in many ways. I saw some notes. I was kind of following them along about the pencil and the global supply chain. And I will tell you that the last couple of years have probably felt like a nightmare rather than the dream side, just because of the supply chain challenges and all the people things and all the things that Megan and I have didn't realize that we're going to be so, take up so much time every day. Been with the business for 7 years, 7 years and 8 months today. And in 2013, just before, a few months before I started here, they had just come off a year of making 13 million bottles of syrup. And 6 years later, the business had doubled to 27 million. So Marilyn made mention of another plant. One of our most recent projects was to build a brand new plant. Our main headquarters and manufacturing plant and distribution center are in the Clearwater, Largo area, and we have a brand new plant that we constructed in Sparks, Nevada, which is outside Reno. We built the plant in 2019, started up in 2020, which was probably the worst time to start up a new plant. But we actually were successful at that and been making product there since June of 2020. I really liked the weave in where you mentioned how it's made, how to make it better, and how to do it best. Monin has this obsession with continuous improvement that when you watch the video in a little while, I laugh at it because we made it to do virtual last year during the pandemic year, and there's 3 significant changes that have even occurred since. And that's actually just kind of fun to watch. And I would guess that probably the same goes for the pencil video. They probably found better ways and done other things too. I'll start by, I do have some show and tell. I'll start by reading the mission because it's very relevant to our business. It reads, to be the trusted brand of choice, providing creative beverage and culinary flavor solutions that make our customers successful. And that is our everyday marching orders. How do we make customers successful? Our customers are national restaurant chains, they're mom and pop coffee shops, they're standalone restaurants all over. Well, we make customers successful, and it all starts with formulation. So just like in the video, you saw the components of the pencil. We start with the components of the syrup. When I joined Monin that time ago, we just had some basic syrups. Here's a new flavor that was launched last year, dragon fruit. It's in a 1 liter bottle. We have a line of concentrated products. This is iced coffee concentrate. Okay. An example of how that would make a customer successful is ease of use. A lot of you have been to restaurants where you've had an iced coffee beverage and you could swear it was fresh brewed. Chances are it started with a concentrated flavor like that, where they took milk or water, added a pump or two of concentrated iced coffee concentrate, and you enjoyed it really well. We do other products that we manufacture ourselves, fruit purees, and concentrated flavors. The emphasis I want to make on concentrated flavor, so we started with syrups. We built the plant. What? Excuse me. Could we go to the video for a moment? I need to step up.
Absolutely. You want me to start it right now?
Start the video.
Okay.
I'll be right back. I'm going to get a glass of water.
Okay.
Welcome to Monin. We were founded in Bourges, France in 1912, which is just a couple hours outside of Paris, and we are 3rd generation family owned. These are some of the photos from the original production facility in Bourges. The legend goes that George Monin loved to entertain and create meals for his friends and family, and he wanted to serve an after-dinner drink that was equally as flavorful, but couldn't find anything on the market. So he went and picked his own fruit and herbs and made his own cordials, and that's how the company started. I'd love for you to come take a tour with us and see where we get innovative and create our products.
So while we're watching the tour, think of some questions you would like to ask. So write down those questions, or you could put them in the chat box.
This production facility serves over 26 countries in North America, Central America, and the Caribbean. There are also production facilities in Bourges, France, Kuala Lumpur, Malaysia, and Shanghai, China. Plus, our new plant in Sparks, Nevada, just opened, expanding our capabilities. One of the reasons we located in Clearwater, Florida, is because of its close proximity to the Everglades, where we source our pure cane sugar. There are 5 sugar tanks located around the building. Currently, we receive 4 to 5 truckloads of sugar daily. Quality control is very important. Our quality control team checks all incoming raw material, sugar, flavors, and water to assure it's up to exact specifications to make sure it meets our high-quality standards before bottling. The entire batching process is monitored systematically. Each blending tank holds 5,000 liters at one time. It now takes about 10 minutes to batch. The ingredients, generally liquid pure cane sugar, flavor, and water, are combined by weight according to each recipe. Sugar enters the building from the sugar tanks to the preparation tank to the large overhead metal tubes. We have 3 holding tanks, each able to hold 7,500 liters. Our products are made with the finest ingredients. The premium extracts, flavors, and juices we use come from all over the world. For instance, our vanilla syrup is made with Madagascar vanilla. Syrup coming from the blending tanks is then flash pasteurized. This is an important step that some of our competitors do not take. With the movement towards natural products, the flash pasteurizer is important because it allows us to create a natural product with no preservatives and still maintain a safe, long shelf life. Bottles are then hot filled. We have 2 production lines. The first is primarily used for 750 milliliter glass, although it can also run plastic, which is traditionally used by coffee houses for a more premium upscale look since they often display the bottle. The second is primarily used for 1 liter plastic, which is more for food service, since it is safer if the bottle is dropped. No glass to worry about. When both are running, we can produce up to 100,000 bottles a day. This is our depalletizer loading bottles onto the conveyor belt. Its function is to supply empty bottles to production with a flow rate of 500 bottles per minute. It picks the bottles off the pallets and places them on the conveyor belt. Even though the bottles are clean to start, this device, our air bottle cleaner, blows away any foreign particles from the bottle, such as cardboard or wood from the pallets. The design of the bottle includes arches in the neck, which represent the arch windows in the original production facility over 100 years ago. We hot fill from 145 degrees to 155 degrees Fahrenheit. Hot filling helps ensure the safest, best possible product and a long shelf life without refrigeration. Our filler fills up to 150 bottles per minute. Filler machine also monitors the fill levels, making sure they are not over or under. Our capper then applies aluminum or plastic caps using 4 copper heads. This is our first accumulation tower. It allows us to take advantage of airspace as opposed to table space. Previously, product would get held up between getting capped and labeled, but this buys us about 7 minutes while maintaining first in, first out. That's the amount of time it takes to rinse, clean the filler, allowing us to run product continuously. No more downtime. Therefore, the tower and being able to run continuously adds 2 to 2.5 hours of filling time per day. Our labeler uses 3 arms to apply up to 3 labels per bottle, front, back, and neck, using cold glue. Excess glue is continuously recirculated to avoid waste. Our bottle coder prints 3 lines of in-house codes on Monin bottles to allow us to trace every bottle. The lot number and ability to trace the product is critical to our recall plan. Our second accumulation tower adds cooling time and allows for accumulation before packing. Monin packs bottles into 4-pack, 6-pack, and 12-pack. Previously, there was one machine that formed the box and a second that used a robotic arm to pick up the bottle and place them in the box. You can see that now the box is built around the bottles. This is a better system because it is faster and more efficient. It is also safer, no more moving glass off the line. It is more environmentally friendly. This process has allowed us to make boxes with 25% less cardboard while maintaining their structural integrity. We try to be environmentally friendly as possible, and we were awarded with the EPA's WasteWise certificate for good management practices. Our sealer and box coater seals the cases with hot molten glue. The coater prints the name of the product, the expiration date, and the lot number directly on the box. Our case labeler prints on each case an identifying UPC code, product name, and lot number. This is our printer room. We used to have racks and racks of labels in inventory, but found efficiencies in printing the labels ourselves. Labels are printed 3 or 4 days ahead of the scheduled production run. This is our robot palletizer. It stacks cases onto a pallet ranging from 42 cases for the 750 milliliter glass 12 packs to 126 cases for the plastic 4-pack. The pallet is assembled on the second level. Stretch wrapping takes less than 2 minutes. This originally was our warehouse for all raw materials and finished goods. As I'm sure you can guess, we quickly outgrew it. The space currently holds all of our raw materials. And now we have a 100,000 square foot warehouse just 7 miles down the road in Largo that holds all of our finished goods. We have our truck going back and forth every day. The warehouse has LED lighting and other energy efficiencies, and that's where we ship out of, both for our B2B customers and our online Monin.com orders. This is one of our research and development labs, where our flavor technologists and food scientists work to create new products and improve current ones. We have become a reference for our customers looking for guidance and consumer trends. When the team is developing a new flavor, it is always against a benchmark or gold standard. For example, when creating strawberry, they are tasting real strawberries. They are also assuring products are versatile across multiple applications and conduct shelf life studies to ensure marketplace stability. This is our kitchen where we have Chef Chad Lance working with our products. This kitchen was built to show operators how they can maximize their SKUs, not just at the bar, but in the kitchen as well. Your mind probably goes to sweet and desserts when thinking about syrups, but it's amazing how much can be made in all meal parts, from flavoring yogurt at breakfast, to salad dressings at lunch, to glazes for chicken and fish at dinner. The possibilities are endless. This is our Flavor Cafe. It's our in-house beverage development facility where we test new products. It's also a space that our customers can use for their own meetings. Along with this space in Clearwater, we have facilities in Dallas and Sparks. There are also over 80 run by Monin and our importers around the world. Our beverage innovation team is unique because they are full-time Monin employees. Our competitors often outsource their development, but these guys are the experts, and they live and breathe the product.
Thank you so much for coming on this tour with us. We hope that you walked away with some new knowledge on how we create our products and how we really strive to be innovative in everything that we do here. We're very proud of our facility, and we're so happy that you could be here. For more information on our company, products, and tons of great recipes, visit Monin.com.
All right, hopefully everyone enjoyed Heather and nice video there.
I find, I've watched it 3 or 4 times now, and every time I watch it, I pick out something new, and I'm always just so fascinated. It's so interesting.
Yeah, so a couple things that are really going back to the beginning. So Monin started in 1912, probably heard that at the beginning of the video. It was started by the Monin family in Bourges, France. It was really neat that as they expanded into the US, they chose Clearwater for a location for first a distribution point, then later a manufacturing facility, and then later basically it turned into Monin America's headquarters. And it's very significant that they mentioned close to the Everglades for dry sugar. We end up getting, like the video says, 4 to 5 truckloads per day of sugar. 3 or 4 of those are typically dry. We also buy a couple liquid loads, a couple types of liquid sugar that go into unique products. We have a handful that require, like peppermint or mojito mix, you need decolorized sucrose so that you don't have an off-colored product. So we get light sucrose. We also buy a product called invert sugar, which goes into about 8 of our different formulas because of the taste profile, and the sugar has a lower propensity to form crystallization. So what's not in the video is what started in 1912 in Bourges turned into a global company. We now have 2 plants in the United States. We opened Sparks in 2020 in Nevada. We have 2 plants in France, 1 in Malaysia and 1 in China. Those were shown. And I'm proud to say that the new plant in Russia is right now in the middle of grand opening activities and first production runs. We build small plants in market. That's how I like to summarize it. To us, a small plant is 2 or 3 manufacturing lines. In market means it's close to supplies like sugar, or in our case in Florida, we buy a lot of our other raw materials from Florida manufacturers, whether it be cardboard, plastic bottles, flavors, etc. Even our labels that are not printed ourselves are manufactured around the corner from us in Clearwater. Some other benefits to being in Florida, it's close to the ports, and a significant amount of our business does actually go out of the ports down to South America. The Sparks plant follows the same kind of model. It's going to be 2 or 3 manufacturing lines at full build out. It'll probably do about 30 to 50 million bottles per year there. It's in market in a different way. Sugar comes in from South America through San Francisco. It gets processed in Crockett, which is in California. And then it basically takes the same amount of travel from San Francisco to Sparks as it does from the Everglades to Clearwater. And the good thing about Sparks is that rapid growth I mentioned early on. We're already starting to plan for our second line in Sparks. We have products that we both currently make that have high demand, but we also have new products in the works that plan is actually better suited to do it than our facility in Florida. So we'll be landing some new products there. 2020, I thought I would mention a couple things. So when the pandemic shut us down at the end of March, it was, should we send everybody home? Should what we do? Well, we are classified as a essential business. And for us, it was actually a great opportunity to focus on, first and foremost, our customers. And what did our customers need in April of 2020 more than anything? That was hand sanitizer. So probably a little more show and tell. So Monin, a syrup manufacturer, we had all the potential sources of ethanol, the main ingredient that goes into hand sanitizer. So we were a very practical facility to take on a project like that. So we could get the raw materials, but we had to learn how to bottle a product that contained alcohol. And to do it safely and to do it with compliance. So fortunately, we have our internal quality systems could navigate the regulations. And then our internal R&D people could help us on the bottling side. We didn't have fillers that were explosion proof. So we did them with tabletop gravity fed or single head fillers and basically manufactured hand sanitizer for 2 months the old fashioned way. It also, a lot of our and one of the benefits of making hand sanitizer for restaurants was they needed it to stay open or to reopen. So making them successful was actually helping them survive in the early stages. We also did a lot of donations for first responders. So it was nice for us to be doing something valuable that was contributing to the local community. We also heard a lot going on, and we're all in Florida, and we know that a lot of restaurants decided to try to do drinks to go or beverages to go. That took us down a totally different path of convenience, and we developed a line of handcrafted cocktails. Simplicity, it's this one I'm just showing here, just holding up, it's Dragon Fruit Cosmopolitan. You can't have a beverage that's easier to make than measure out your dragon fruit mix, add your spirit or not, if you want it without, and add a garnish. And that actually gave a lot of the restaurants, different business and helped them think other ways. The last two I would mention, they were on our website, which was really cool. I appreciate you, Deborah, bringing up the website. So during the pandemic, everybody was searching for ways to have more immunity. So our beverage people, R&D, formulation, innovation, worked on a product called Immunity Boost, which contains all stuff that a product like vitamin C would have, whatever it's called, the one that's in the tablet. But it allows you to add it to a beverage without impacting the flavor. So it literally can be added to any beverage. And what's interesting, the challenge is because the chemistry in beverages is different from milk to juice to iced tea to something acidic or not acidic. We had to make it work across the board. So literally, the restaurants could offer Immunity Boost to someone who wanted to, sell it to their customers. Then never to rest laurels on, there's a lot of press about sugar, right? So we're primarily in the sugar business, but we have a whole line of products that are meant to address other things, right? Make customers successful. Some of that is hitting dietary needs. And it's an amazing flavor called 0 Calorie Natural Flavoring, which is that. It's a 0 calorie product, which gives you the same experience with the drink. So just some of the things that happened out of the pandemic that caused us to be creative, be innovative, and look other places for ways to help customers and obviously help us with our business. So after you've heard those few minutes in the video, are there any questions that come to mind that people would like us to dive deeper into?
Yes, this is Dick Puglisi. Deborah, if you don't mind, I've been sitting here. I'd love to ask a couple of questions.
I know you did because you love the show, how it's made. So this is
I love that show. It just blows my mind every time I watch them. But in any event, Mike and Megan, we've got teachers, and teachers have students, and there may be some students who one day want to follow in your footsteps. If you could tell us a little bit about your backgrounds, how you got to where you are today, Megan included in as well in terms of your role with human resources. I think the teachers would be interested to help guide students who might be interested in that kind of work. If we knew a little bit about your academic background, if there was a teacher in your life that inspired you to go down this road, those kinds of things I think are the nitty-gritty of what teachers need to know in order to encourage their students to follow your path.
Sure. If you'd like, Mike, I can go first because yours is probably more standard than mine. I had no idea about manufacturing when I went to school actually for a fine arts degree at the University of Florida. I wanted to manufacture costumes in the movies. So I took a complete turn and first worked in accounting a little bit, and then that somehow segued me into human resources, because I do enjoy working with people. Since I started working at Monin, I've learned so much about manufacturing and the technology needed and the mechanical aptitude needed, and it's just such a fascinating world, and I'm so happy to be involved in it and get to know all of the people. One of the things I wanted to touch on, Deborah mentioned in the pencil video that it looked like there was more automation, not too many people. And when we were watching our video, I noticed the same thing. But there really is a lot of people involved in the manufacturing. They just weren't featured in the video. And we have made improvements with our manufacturing to make it more automated, but we still have the same amount of employees. It's just the roles have shifted a little bit. So I would encourage teachers that are that if they ever have any students with any kind of mechanical aptitude, or they just like fiddling with things, to let them know about manufacturing, expose them to this kind of thing. There's all different jobs. It's not all working on the line. It is HR, it is training, it's engineering, it's supervising. We have, a ton of different positions. And then, so FLATE helps with this, Florida Makes, all of these, Bay Area Manufacturers Association, all of these different organizations can help students find the right fit for them.
Thank you,
That's
Meg.
my story. Sorry, long-winded.
No,
Yeah, I don't know that I have a short answer. I guess for the audience, it's important to know that I wanted to be a teacher. So I wanted to be a teacher. So, and I wanted to teach science classes, and I did my first degree in my associate's degree in environmental science and engineering, and then I moved on. Long story short, my mom was ill in the late 80s. Yeah, late 80s. No, early 80s, and so I moved close to home, but I pursued my bachelor's, focused primarily on chemistry because that was what I loved more than anything. And then I moved on from there to start my master's, and you could split it up. It was a liberal arts type master's where I could have a major in chemistry, a minor in biology, one in education. And during that time, I met my girlfriend was going to be my wife, and that was back in 1988. And we decided to start my career, get married, start our career in Buffalo, New York. And in order to, and we were talking, we wanted to start a family soon after when we could. And all kidding aside, I mean, I was nervous about the pay back then. And I got my first job working as an analytical chemist at an analytical lab in Western New York, and took a different trajectory. I ended up moving on to there and working in environmental engineering to 1996. I had my first job with a food manufacturer called Perry's Ice Cream Company. My title was Engineering, Environmental, and Safety Director. And when I got in the manufacturing plant, much the same way Megan described it, it's awesome with turning raw materials into tangible products. It's awesome turning what seem jobs into careers. And Perry's Ice Cream in Western New York and Monin in Clearwater, Florida are a lot alike, where people get there and they stay forever for a long, long time. We have people in the building here in Clearwater that have worked 25, 26 years, probably coming up on 27 years. So I love it for all those same reasons. I love manufacturing, and I think this day and age with all of the things like robotics, 3D scanning and printing, all of the automation that's coming into play, whether it be training, monitoring operations, increasing efficiency. It's now this generation's perfect place. Everything that's going on in there is stuff that's right in things they have as part of their normal daily life. It's hard for me as the old guy to adapt, but it's really prideful to see the young people grab it and implement it and have no fear to do it. So, but that's why I'm in manufacturing, and I would hope that people would take a look as they're looking at ways to build careers.
Thank you very much, Mike.
Jennifer, have any other questions come in the chat?
I saw comments, Deborah. I didn't see any questions, but I did.
Questions. Okay. Okay. So we have, keep thinking about any questions you might have, and we have a couple more things for you from Monin. We have another video.
Yeah, just to quickly introduce this, we thought it might be cool for you to see how to use our products. So you're looking how we manufacture, but then the end user can manufacture a cocktail or latte or any kind of drink with our products. So we thought it might be interesting to see the end use.
Okay. Oh, I went backwards by mistake, sorry. I don't know how that happened. There we go.
I see a quick question from Lisa there. I don't know if we should jump on that, asking about how we anticipate the field changing and recommendations for students. What I see is, like we've touched on a few times, is much more computer oriented and robotics, automation. So, but you see kids these days learning to program robotics, much earlier than they have it in elementary schools now. So if people do have that inclination, I would encourage them to pursue that. One thing that does get lost is the mechanical, and Mike, you can probably speak to this better, but I think that it's not taught as much now. So finding mechanics and people who understand how that works from a young age, you don't see that as much now. Would you agree, Mike, or maybe you can say it?
Yeah, definitely. I think the chart that was in the early in the presentation about critical thinking, that's one layer of it, but then it's really how to use measurement tools, how to work on the troubleshooting part of it. Just general comfort with working with your hands. It sounds easy, but we have some who doesn't come natural for them because what they've been doing throughout their life has changed. It's changed from when a lot of us were younger. Yeah, I am kind of blown away with how fast technology is coming at. We have smart devices on the floor, whether it be iPad, phone. We have apps on there that you can do non-conformance reporting, accident investigations. You can do real-time, take a picture, be communicating with somebody, and do troubleshooting long distance. I mean, it's all coming at us so fast but it's really quite impressive when you look at the efficiencies, ease of use, and all those things that are gained from it.
That's great.
Yeah, Deborah, I really like, and Marilyn, I really like your critical thinking model, because a lot of it is similar to what we use when finding out a root cause of an incident, something, but not just in manufacturing, but in HR also. If there's a problem, it's good for finding out all of the information before, moving forward. So I think that model is great for students as well.
That's great. Thank you. Thank you. And also I love the, I also love the other recipe you sent to us, which is a great activity that teachers could use. Just think of how you could have it in language art, ELA, where they're talking about how to make this iced pumpkin cider, and also using mathematics, thinking about how we would, change all of those if we have more things. But I guess we might not, put too much of the whiskey in it if we're serving it to our kids. No, just kidding. We're obviously not serving it to our kids. This is absolutely fun. We're serving to ourselves after we're with the kids all day, right? Is that correct?
That's correct.
One of the things that I think is pretty interesting that you mentioned the mathematics part, and we're a global company with operations in where metric system is used, or our standard units are used, and it's interesting to us. We use liters and gallons and kilograms and pounds. It's kind of like we're bilingual as it relates to units.
That's great.
It does cause some problems occasionally, but by and large, the guys who've been around a long time, they're going back and forth like it's just two languages that are intermingled. So it's pretty fascinating, really.
That's great. That's great. And I know you have some excitement coming up too. You have don't you have some prizes coming up
Well, we do, but before I had my little need to get some water, I was going to tell a little story.
Oh, yes.
It had to do with this concentrated flavor bottle. It's cucumber flavor. Well, back in 2018, our CEO told us, we need to start creating more products that, he gave us the story about the sugar, all of his reading. We can't just rely on sugary products and, for our long-term success, and maybe even somewhere down the road, our survival could depend on it, depending on shifts in diets and things like that. And he told us at a strategy meeting that we were going to develop concentrated flavors. Concentrated flavor for us, it's glycerin based. It has a flavor, in this case, cucumber. And he said, oh, guys, we may launch 8 or 9 of these next year. And for Monin, that doesn't sound hard because we launch lots of new products every year. We have probably 200 flavors. We put them in a couple different bottle formats. But for the guys who make it back in the batching room where you saw the tanks, it was a big undertaking because it was a whole new process. It was slow to make. They were really hard to make. Well, because of the CEO's read on the market demand for a product like this, which is low calorie, really strong flavor, whether it be a fruit, in this case cucumber, or a spice like habanero or jalapeno, he knew there was demand for it. Fast forward another year, after we've been making it by hand, basically using a full-scale factory to do pilot type work, and we're up around 30 flavors. And we're now this many years into it, and we're actually looking at our list to make sure everything's selling, but it turned into a huge project. Why the product was so highly in demand and so well welcomed by the industry is its clean label. And I think with everyone on here as teachers, consumers, you're looking at labels for different reasons: calories, sugar content, protein, whatever. Well, clean label to us has some meaning, and clean label to us means no artificial colors, no artificial flavors, no artificial ingredients, no artificial sweeteners, no added sugar, gluten-free and vegan. So it hits all of the things that people are saying no to. With a few exceptions, like right now, we get some flavors that have the flavor is, the carrier is dissolved in propylene glycol, and now propylene glycol is on a no-no list. So now we're working with a couple flavor suppliers, very small number, to take that out, because now customers don't want propylene glycol, even if it's a trace amount, even if it's 1 part per billion in the product. No one wants that flavor was dissolved in propylene glycol. Well, that's a huge challenge for the industry, because you got to have something to dissolve the flavors in. So anyway, that's the clean label for us. And what I find is also equally fascinating is the CEO said, in order for us to stay the clean label leader, we got to convert as many formulas as we can. And we're down to about 10% of our formulas that cannot be changed because they have something in them, like a color that can't be duplicated naturally. Or you can't make a certain color or an intensity of color or something like that. There's a few colors and a few other things. So I wanted to share that with you because the market, the consumer, and our whole industry, it's in flavors. We happen to be doing it, so does everyone else. It's all good for everyone that's part of this audience. So I wanted to share that. There's a few hints in there. It does lead to one of those questions. So
I know, because you're going to be having a little.
Hope you're paying attention.
Yes, you're going to be having a little draw in a second. What I'm just going to do is, I'm just going to, I had shared a QR code, and I just want to talk about it for a second, and then we'll go right into those little draws you're going to have for the contest for some questions. So I'll just share right here. So we have a tiny URL today, which the tiny URL includes a survey link, which we would ask you to fill in because we need the information for people who are attending our session. So there's a survey link, a Canvas link if you'd like to download the resources into Canvas, and also all of the resources from the presentation. Here is a QR code, but you can also use the tinyurl.com/USF how it's made. So it's easy. It's just the tinyurl.com and USF how it's made without a it's isn't spelled right, but I couldn't put the punctuation in there because it wouldn't accept it. So how it's made, you just have to it's that way. It's spelled that way that it's not supposed to be spelled. So how it's made, and that will bring you up with all of the resources, and the very first thing that comes up is the survey. So when you go to that tinyurl.com, you can click on this and it opens up the survey for you to fill in, and all of the resources, including a Canvas link, because all of the resources are also on Canvas. So you can see all of the materials that we talked about that are there. And there's the QR code again, and we're going to be having a little contest, aren't we?
We are.
Okay.
Yeah, I think we saw one more question that we can answer real quickly, and that was about whether we conduct hands-on tours. We do tours normally, but not hands-on. We do sometimes do tours that have a taste test at the end. And we're hoping to get back to that next year. Right now, we do have a limit on how many people we can have in the facility. But yeah, feel free to reach out to us. Long term, we love having people. Just not quite yet.
We typically will follow the process from sugar receiving. We'll weave in a few lean manufacturing examples that anybody can take with them for their long-term thinking of how we apply those things to help us be more efficient. It's not really hands-on, but we do see some things up close. You do see some things that are not on the video that I'm sure some would find valuable.
But it's for food safety and employee safety or person safety. That's why we don't have the hands-on portion, except for the taste test.
Now, I did have a thought while we were here. I do know that last year we made a lot of hand sanitizer. the rest of the world caught up. Everyone else made it. Now the supply exceeds the demand. We probably have some inventory left, and we love donating it. So if you have need for, a case of 4 bottles, typically dispenses in a half an ounce per thing. So 4 bottles will last a long time. If you have need for a donation, email Deborah or Marilyn. They can give my email or Megan's direct, and we'll make sure we take care of you.
While supplies last, right? So we do have a few bottles we'd love to give out to you. We'll ask the questions, and if you want to just put the answer in the chat, and the first person to get the correct answer, we'll send you this one. What's the first one?
I'm going to start at at what temperature do we fill bottles?
And this is for a free bottle of pumpkin spice syrup.
Oh, let's see. We got 140 by Libby Cope. Is that correct?
That's correct.
Libby Cope is the winner of the pumpkin spice. I will write that down. Yay, Libby.
And Libby, if you just make sure to put your address or in the tiny URL, they'll get us your info, and we can send you a bottle.
So the method to my madness by asking the question is there's always another story behind the question. We fill warm. It gives us, because the product isn't actually rapidly cooled, so we have some shelf life help extension by killing Easter mold, stuff that can die lower temperature than closer to 200, that can die due to the we're not a traditional hot fill company. A traditional hot fill for other products is 180 or 185, but we fill warm enough because our formulas are sugar-based, low water activity. The shelf life that we put on our bottles is 18 months on a 1 liter bottle, 3 years on a bottle in glass. The other thing that is neat about the temperature, which you can't see on the video, is we dose on top of the bottle with a little nitrogen, and that actually expands due to the dropping on the hot liquid. It pushes bad air, dirty air, plant air out of the bottle before it's capped. So that's why we fill hot.
Great.
All right, next question for a bottle of the not concentrated flavor, but the home crafted cocktail mix. Mike, you can go with that one again.
How old is Monin?
How old is Monin?
It's 1912. For me.
All right, I
don't know. It was a trick question. How old is Monin? We're not 1,912 years old. Sorry.
Oh, okay.
I say we give it to her.
All right.
Okay.
I think, I don't know. I think.
For Anita, all 3 were at the same. You know what? All 4 of you, we can send a bottle of
Perfect.
handcrafted cocktail. So just make sure that you put your address in the tiny URL.
Now we only have 3 handcrafted cocktail mixes. We have margarita mix, which you add tequila or not. Mai Tai, which is rum, and the dragon fruit cosmopolitan, which is a vodka, which is the recipe recommended is vodka to add to the home crafted cocktail.
And
then this one's a harder one, guys, and that's why I spent a little extra time on it. What are 3 things that make a label clean? 3 things. I see some thinking. I see some typing. That's it.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, right behind.
Yeah.
Okay. All right. We can get Laura and Lindsay. We'll both get. Oh gosh, we gotta get it all.
Yeah, and Randy.
Okay, so Laura and Lindsay both came in at the same time, so we'll send both of you guys. Well, we didn't say what the item was on here. If you have a particular syrup that you would like, just send us the name of that and we can send that in. We can send that to you, a particular flavor. Otherwise, it's dealer's choice and you just get probably pumpkin.
Yeah, it is. It is. Yeah, we'll, if they sell you, if not, we'll give them something that's seasonal and exciting, fun.
Oh, I think Laura already won, so we will give that to Lindsay and Brandy are both. Sorry.
There we go. And Brandy Garcia Blanchard. I'm writing these names down so we have them for you.
Yeah.
And we'll get their addresses. Make sure you fill in the evaluation form and put in your address in the evaluation form. And if there isn't a place for address at the top, you could put your address in the comments section.
And then
now one thing I would add, and I appreciate Marilyn or Deborah, one of you talked about past years of supporting manufacturing. Where, you know, I know someone asked a question about a tour, but we do like to have student groups here. We do more around what kind of careers. We kind of do a little bit of what Deborah and Marilyn did as part of our tour, because there's a lot of those careers that were shown on those different diagrams that we actually have within our building. Yes, manufacturing are in the center of it, but all those other careers are going on. So, you know, if you want to do that, you know, we can typically handle a group. We'll split it up. We won't be able to do hands-on, but we can do tours, and we'd be more than happy to host. It's something that we definitely enjoy and love doing. So,
yeah,
if it's on your mind, don't let it go too long before you forget.
right. We won't be able to do it right now because we do have a limit to 5 people, but we can set something up for the future when we're allowing people in. The one last question, and this is for a bottle of puree, puree flavor of your choice. And this goes back to what Deborah was talking about at the beginning when she was showing the pencil video and asking everybody to think of the resources. What is one of our primary resources that we use in our products? One winner only this time.
Oh, and it's Tara.
Oh, got trees. Oh, did you get somebody?
Yeah, the first person in was Tara Stoddard.
All right.
Okay.
Way to go, Tara.
Yoo-hoo. Lots of winners today. We thank you so much. All of you were so wonderful, asking such great questions, giving such great comments, and thank you so much for our guests from Monin. I have these flavors that I'm just dying to taste now. And thank you for joining us tonight, and we look forward to seeing you again next week when we have part 2, and we have some more flavors next week. So it should be fun. It's the same link next week we used this week, so you should be good, and have a fabulous evening.
I just want to remind everyone.
Teachers, keep doing the great work. Thank you so much for spending time with us.
Thank you. Oh, go ahead, Jennifer.
Yes, thank you to Mike and Megan, but I also want to remind the teachers to go to that link and make sure you complete the evaluation, because I have to have the evaluations for today and next week to submit with the stipend paperwork to show the documentation. So please make sure you fill those out.
Okay, thank you. And have a wonderful evening.
And a happy manufacturing month.
Happy manufacturing
month.
Woo!
Thank you.
And thanks, Mike and Megan. That was great.
It was great.
Guys, have a good one.
So much fun.